Hi and welcome to I Design My Life. I'm Sumit and today we are going to talk about something which resides within each of us. It's deep-seated and it robs us of our lives. It causes panic, agitation, distress, horror and whatnot. So today friends, we are going to talk about a very important topic and that is called as fear. F-E-A-R. So before I proceed forward, let me tell you about my first interaction in my known knowledge with fear. So I was around 7-8 years old at that point in time. We used to go out and play. So I used to play with my friends. There was one special friend of mine who used to tell us stories. So he used to tell us stories about kings, queens, ghosts and whatnot. Now the thing is, I had this big banyan tree behind my home. So when he used to tell stories, he used to tell that witches and ghosts reside on this tree. So they used to live over here. So I started believing that and I started getting scared. This was for the first time I realized that I was scared of ghosts, witches and darkness. So one day what happened was I was studying. It was I think late in the evening. I think it was dark. So what my dad did was he asked me to get bread from a store. Now it is a very common thing. I mean, getting this bread from the store is not a big deal. However, that day it was dark and there was one more thing. I had to go past that tree to buy bread from there. And I started getting scared. My dad noticed it. So my dad is the coolest dad you will ever see. So he used to spend a lot of time with me. After coming from his office, he used to play, then we used to study. So he was totally invested in me. For him, it was very easy to figure out that there was something going wrong inside me. So he noticed that I was scared. So what he did was he came to me and asked what was wrong. And then I told my dad the story and I believed that there were ghosts and witches living over there. My dad didn't do anything. He just said, it's all right. So what I'll do is I'll also come with you and let's go together. He picked up the torch and then we started walking down the road. I was happy because I wasn't scared anymore. I had my dad with me. But then suddenly he started taking a detour towards that tree. And I realized that he was moving towards that tree. I got really scared and my heart was in my mouth. And I started screaming, shouting and crying. So what my dad did was he asked me to stay there and he went on his own. So I was not very far, around maybe say 3-4 meters from the tree. And there's something strange my dad started to do. He started to put the torch on the tree. So the light from the torch was falling on the tree. At one place, other place, left side, right side, top, bottom. And he started putting torch on all the places on the tree. And then he strangely started asking me a question. What do you see over here? Is the witch sitting over here? And I was like, no. Is she sitting over here? Here, here. And then, he spent a lot of time going through each corner and I started saying no. And slowly something started happening inside me. I started sensing that I wasn't fearful anymore. So I took a step ahead and I took 2 steps towards him. And then he asked me, do you see anything now? Come closer. I went closer. And then what we did was he climbed on the tree and I climbed on the tree as well. And then we found out that there was nothing on the tree. We came down and then we went and bought the bread. But there's one important thing I learned that day. And I'm so grateful to my dad that he taught me this lesson. Lesson number 1, to defeat the fear, you need a torch. You need to put light on that fear. Lesson number 2, you need to look into the eyes of the fear and say, I see you. So we need to look into the eyes of the fear. And since then, whenever I have fear, I try to put light on it and it diminishes. So friends, this is what we are going to do. We are going to understand what fear is and then we are going to put some light on it and look at strategies which can help us to diminish this fear. So before we proceed with this video, I would like to tell you that if you're looking for a quick fix for the fears, I'm afraid that this video would not help you. Working on your fears is going to take some time. it requires your conscious energy. So I'm not making any false promises over here. All I'm doing over here is sharing my experience which I've gathered working with a lot of people. I'm going to talk about these strategies which I've utilized with my clients, and I'm very hopeful that if you follow the video through, you will be able to help yourself as well. Let's understand what fear is, because once you understand what fear is, you will start to understand how it operates and how it plays its tricks with us. So let me define fear for you. Fear is a feeling which gets induced by a perceived threat of danger, pain, or harm. There is a very important word hidden over there, and that word is perceived. What it means is that the threat might be true or it might be imaginary. Let's get a few scenarios in which fears robs us from experiencing our lives the way we want to. So Jatin wants to change his career of 14 years and follow his dream of becoming a photographer. He cannot do it. Kirti wants to leave a marriage of 15 years. She is unable to take an action. Dev wants to expand his business but can't make the required leap onto the next step. He is an entrepreneur, but there is something which is stopping him. Jyoti wants to confront her husband with things that have been bothering her. However, she remains quiet most of the times. Nitin wants to speak to his boss about his progression within the company. However, he is unable to do this. There is one common thread which stops them all. Guess what? The common thread is fear. So let's try to understand this a little bit more. So for the ease of our understanding, I'm going to break fears into 3 levels. The first level is surface level fear, second level is ego level fear, and the third level is core level fear. So what is surface level fear? So let's say you were going in a lift and somehow the lift stopped. How do you react? Do you start fearing for your life? Do you feel that you might just get suffocated and might die? Or another example could be, are you fearful of bungee jumping? So the thing about surface level fears is, it is a fear about our deaths, about our extinctions. So surface level fears are the fears which are related to fear, where we fear our death or bodily harm. So these could be fear of death, fear of fatal diseases, fear of heights, fear of animals, fear of injections, etc. Now, the second level of fears are the ego level fears. So when I talk about the ego level fears, it simply means we are trying to protect ourselves, our self-image and our self-esteem. So everything around ego level fears is trying to protect our ego. So just imagine a situation: you were sitting in a meeting and you wanted to say something. However, something stopped you from saying something. It is this fear of saving your ego, because you might have thought, what if I say something wrong? What will these people think about me? So you are trying to protect your self-image. And this is what ego level fears are. Ego level fears are the fears related to the protection of our ego, protection of our sense of self-esteem. These fears have to do with our inner states of mind rather than exterior situations. So these are the fears where your sense of self gets threatened. These are the fears like fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of loss of image, etc. So these are the fears which dictates our life on day-to-day basis. These fears protect us from living our life to our full potential. These fears robs us from experiencing our beautiful life the way it is. And now I'm going to come to the core level fears. Are you ready for it? The core level fear which lies beneath every fear is, I can't handle it. This is it. I know I made it a little dramatic, but that's what it is. The core of all fears. It's a feeling at the bottom of your heart which says, I cannot handle it. So let me give you an example over here. Let's talk about the biggest reported fear on earth. And this is the fear of public speaking. Public speaking does not always mean speaking in front of a crowd. it also means presenting your views in a meeting as well. So let's think, what is this fear about? This is a fear about shame, embarrassment. What will happen if I go wrong? What will these guys think about me? Beneath that, there is a feeling that says, I will not be able to handle this. Let's try to test the fears and see the form in which they appear. I can't handle making a wrong decision. I can't handle if my career change decision went wrong. Let's test this with few ego level fears as well. I can't handle failure. I can't handle rejection. I can't handle loss of image. And this is the reason I call it as a core level fear. When I work with people to get over these fears, this inner voice changes to, I think I can handle it. So the key to all fears lies in changing this voice from inside, from I cannot handle it to I can handle it. So the main point is, if somehow we develop the ability to get convinced that we can handle whatever situation life throws at us, and then we would not have any fears and we would be able to trust in our abilities, and whenever we are stuck with a fear, we will be able to say, I can handle it. So what I've just told you means you can handle all your fears without having to control anything in the outside world. You no longer have to control what your friends do, what your children do, or what your boss does. You don't have to control what happens in an interview, what happens at your job, what happens in your new career. All we have to do to diminish our fear is to develop more trust in our ability to handle whatever comes our way. So this is what we are going to cover in this entire series of Friendship with Fear. From now on, we will begin to develop our trust in our abilities. And we will say to ourselves, whatever happens to me, given any situation, I can handle it. I assure you, if you keep watching these series, you'll find yourself coming closer and closer to such a high level of self-confidence that you will ultimately begin to realize that you can handle anything that comes up your way. So just a quick tip, till our next video, whenever fear is striking you, you say to yourself, I will handle it. So guys, this is it for this video. In the upcoming videos, we'll talk about various kind of fears and the strategies around conquering those fears. Till that time, invest in yourself, design your lives the way you want to, and remember and say to yourself, I design my life.